Welcome to the Over There podcast. I'm your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith.
Good to see you, Dan.
Back, man. And this is an episode I've been looking forward to doing, which is we're going to cover. We did a first look on Springsteen, Deliver Me from Nowhere. But
Right.
this is going to be a deep dive into the film because we've both now seen the film. As of this recording, it's been out for a couple of weeks. Really
Yeah,
that
not
long.
even 2 weeks yet.
Yeah, it came out October 24th, 2025, which was pushed, I think, a week. Or no, sorry. The the I won't say companion album because that's not true, but it was, Bruce was also releasing this expanded edition of the album that this movie kind of centers around, which is the album Nebraska that came out in 1982. And that came out I think on the same date that expanded edition was dropped on the 24th. I think it was originally supposed to come out the week before, but it got delayed.
Before we dive in, do you remember, because you're
Mm.
kind of young, do you remember when CDs first hit the market?
Do I remember when CDs first hit the market?
Yeah.
I was a member of Columbia House Records. Of course, I
Yeah,
remember
but
when CDs hit the market.
CDs did not show up in the US till 1982. So
Yeah.
you would be 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think about it because there was a place around the corner called Strawberries, if you
Yes,
remember.
of course.
And all of a sudden, we had heard that they were coming. But I just bring that up because my very first CD purchase was Born to Run.
Okay. Which is interesting you would say that, because what I have here is Bruce Springsteen's autobiography, which was called Born to Run, which came out 2016. And I hold that up for a reason I'll get to in just a minute. But yeah, I want to take our time with this conversation. So up front,
should we point out reviewer bias here?
Well, I'm so glad you said that, because so for anybody who's new to the program, welcome, first of all. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can just scan this QR code that you see here, and that'll get you right to the YouTube channel, and you can subscribe to the channel, which we would appreciate. But anybody who's followed us for a while certainly knows that we've got a history, both as fans of Bruce Springsteen. Now, you, of course, were turned on by a girlfriend of yours.
Yeah.
And then you turned me on to him, and then she told two friends, and she told two friends,
right,
and so on. It's the old Vidal Sassoon commercial for those of a certain generation.
And this was your first concert.
It was. And you know what? Born in the USA was my
USA.
first one. But you know what kills me, Mike, is I thought I had it here, but it's actually in a storage unit, is I have ticket stubs from August 30th, 1985. Mike, the face value price of that ticket was $17.50. Now, not the price that was paid for those tickets.
No.
As you can attest to, right?
Yeah.
I know that I drew every amount of money I had from my bank, or the Central Trust, to coin a phrase related to this episode. For those that know, some of this is going to be some Easter eggs for Springsteen fans, but we're also going to keep it kind of general as well. But yeah, so and what's interesting is that show, Mike, never happened, right?
Right.
That show ended up happening September 1st, 1985. So yeah, you're right. That was my first foray into it.
Now, my first viewing, or my first Bruce concert, was Born to Run. The River at the Boston Garden. And honestly, I did not know much of his music. And these girls from high school had an extra ticket and asked me to go, and I almost didn't go.
I thought the story was you didn't go, because I know I've challenged you on this for many years. Like, I don't believe you went.
No, I did go.
You went. Okay.
I did go, and they had all gone to the Born to Run concert prior.
Was it at the Boston Garden?
It was at the Boston Garden.
Okay.
And they all had T-shirts, but there was a moment, like, I'm listening to this music for the first time, most of it. other
Yep.
than maybe Born to Run. And when he went into Thunder Road
Mhm.
and he did this throughout most of his concerts, and it came early in the set, he would start singing and then stop, and the crowd would take over and sing the whole intro to Thunder Road. And I can remember the girls not watching him, but watching me because I was just in amazement.
Well, that's one of the things too, is I've always gotten quite a bit of joy out of bringing people to see him that have never seen him
Correct.
before. And listen, we should say and acknowledge the fact that Bruce, which is, to us very probably something we never thought would happen, but he's much more of a divisive, polarizing figure than he used to be because he always let the music do the talking in terms of any sort of political statement.
Right.
That has since changed, like,
He
ever
was
since
always a
2004.
talker. He always told stories about
But
his
he
music, but
Right, but
not
he
politics.
never went into politics. That just always came out through the music, right?
Yeah.
That has changed, and it's been that way for a couple of decades now, ever since the Vote for Change tour back in 2004 when John Kerry was running for president. So that has a lot of folks kind of not really into him anymore, or you know what I mean? They've kind of,
Yeah.
abandoned
He's
Bruce, but
isolated a portion of
he
his
has.
audience. Ironically, you mentioned like, I took you to your first Bruce show,
Mhm.
but there's at least 4 other people that I had taken to their first show. And again, it's always Thunder Road that I would turn to them, and they would be looking at the crowd, everyone singing in unison,
Right.
and they would be like, "Oh my god." And I think between the 2 of us, we've
Mhm.
seen virtually every musical act of our generation, right?
Yeah, with maybe the exception of the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, and I haven't seen that's a good one. I didn't think of them.
Yeah, that's about the
Um,
only
there
band.
was 3
Dylan,
I
I'm
thought
talking
of.
Dylan, you name it, Elvis Costello, as you referenced there, and so forth.
Yeah, for me, the Beatles, I was too young,
We
and
did see
I
Paul McCartney.
we did see Paul, but I totally thought I was gonna see the Beatles until John Lennon was killed, because
Yeah,
I was convinced they were gonna come back.
right.
Um, Elvis Presley, not Elvis Costello, we've seen him many times.
Yeah.
Um, and the third, oh my god, why can't I think of it? Oh, CCR, Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Now, I have seen John Fogerty actually perform with Bruce.
I've seen Fogerty solo, but
Right, but
never
not
his
together.
brother died,
Yep.
and again, it just wasn't meant to be.
Right, right.
But those are the 3 acts. Other than that, I think we've seen everyone, and I think we would both agree no one puts on a show
No.
like Bruce Springsteen.
No, and every time look, I've seen him over 60 times, which now I know there's even more hardcore fans that have seen him hundreds of times. I
Right,
I don't I don't know how those people afford to do it. I don't
right.
know where they get the time off to do it. For me, when I say that to most people, they're like 60 times, so I've seen him quite a few times. Met him. We've both met him on a
Yep,
number of occasions. And there's a great story we won't get into now, but I love that where you a close encounter that never happened, which was one of the greatest stories because back during the Born in the USA. Now, let me back up a little bit, Mike, because I want to take you down memory lane for a minute. I don't think I've ever shared this with you, but I have very vivid memories of my coming into Bruce fandom, which was during the River era. So this is 1980, okay? And I held up
right.
the vinyl for those that know what a vinyl is,
And
kids.
if you drove with me anywhere, the cassette was constantly in my
Well,
player.
well, that's where I'm going with this. I have a vivid memory where you and I are in your, I believe it was a blue blazer
Correct.
that
A
we were, and we were,
full-size blazer.
yes, and we were driving somewhere at night. I don't know where we were going. And you were playing the cassette. And I remember because Hungry Heart was his first top 10 hit,
Mhm.
and so it was on the radio quite a bit, and I mean, he almost gave that song to the Ramones. I don't know if you know that.
Well, Blinded by the Light,
True.
um,
Yeah.
there's a couple of tunes, and we find out in this documentary, he almost gave Cover Me away to Donna Summer.
Which he ended up giving her a song called "Protection," which is a fantastic tune,
Mhm.
by the way, but anyways, I think it's on one of the unreleased, record, the Tracks albums or something, but, so that's a vivid memory, and that's where my fandom starts, and then around that same time, which is only about a year or 2 after this occurred, was the No Nukes concert because again, you know this, you were there, back when you used to go to the video rental store, and I'll never forget it. It's like I can see it like it was yesterday. You rented the No Nukes concert, you put it in, and you were calling mom into to mom, you got to check this out. You got to check this guy out. And,
Everyone.
and I'm in the mix too, and I'm like 8 years old. And I will never forget seeing that visually for the first time, going, who is this and what is going on? Because
And
it
he
was
sang
wild.
one of the songs was The River,
Yes.
and he says before he starts, "This is for my sister and brother-in-law," and he's bawling through the whole performance. It was, it got me emotional watching
Yeah.
it.
Which it's funny over the years, because I know that's always been and as I watch that, I've seen that video performance 1,000 times.
Right.
And there's times when I'm like, I don't know. I think there's just sweat in his eyes and this, but he's definitely getting emotional. The first time he ever performed it live,
Correct.
and I believe his sister Virginia or Ginny, who it's about, was in the audience, if I'm not mistaken, as the story goes. So,
Yeah.
so that's where I come into it. But all of this to say, as you pointed out at the beginning, lest anyone think we're homers, I absolutely was very intentional about going into this experience, seeing this film, and not being biased, right?
And trying to be objective.
Trying not to nitpick, which I will admit it was very difficult, but I've only seen it once.
Mhm.
Somebody at work messaged me today and said, "How many times have you seen the Springsteen film?" I said, "Just once," but I've reflected on it quite a bit. And, you know, there's things I like about it. There's things I really like about it. And then there's issues that I have with it where I think it's just okay. And I think you're seeing that in a lot of the ratings and reviews
Yeah,
and frankly, the box office, what it's doing at
right.
the no surprise. Let's be honest. We talk about this all the time,
No,
right?
although I said to you when I saw it on a Tuesday night, late
Mm,
show, so there's
yeah.
only about 8 people there, and 2 people walked out, and
Walked
that was my
out.
yeah, they walked out. I was
What?
stunned.
Well, we don't know the reason for that. So
No,
let's
and again, it was a couple, maybe they were, like,
yeah,
getting a
right.
little amorous, who knows?
Exactly.
But, um, I was I don't have anything negative to say about the film,
That's great.
which is why I point out the bias.
I'm super interested to hear this too. And I really, for those listening or watching, please, please, please reach out to us. Drop comments on the video. You can send us a text if you look in the show notes of the audio episodes, and you can reach out to us that way. But I would love to hear from folks that are more casual fans or not even fans. There's a woman that I work with who is interested in seeing it, who's not a fan really. So I'm really curious to get that perspective because
Yes.
it is hard to go in as somebody with the kind of deep knowledge that we have. And
And and we were both Nebraska came out,
Mhm.
day 1, we owned it on
Yep,
cassette,
yep.
and I can remember, although it wasn't not he didn't release any singles, he didn't do any promotion, no tour, but they
Mhm.
did play it on the radio because at work, I would hear it and
A lit
crank it.
a little bit. I mean, you mainly heard Atlantic City.
Correct,
That was really
correct.
that was the single, and this is only about a year after MTV hits, right? So he had a video for Atlantic City, which of course he was not featured in, right? Very kind of controversial at the time as far as, MTV was all about the visual experience. Let's see the artist behind the
Right.
songs and so forth. But I think that takes us into what's interesting about this film, which is directed by Scott Cooper, who I wasn't familiar with. I didn't see the film he did with Jeff Bridges and Gwyneth
Oh, Crazy
Paltrow,
Hearts.
Crazy Heart, which did that not win some awards, I believe, right?
Jeff Bridges won the Oscar.
Oh, he did win the Oscar for that.
Absolutely.
Okay. So Scott Cooper's no slouch when it
He
comes
also
to
directed Black Mass with Johnny Depp.
and Black Mass. Okay, of course. Now, this is based on the book to a certain extent by Warren Zanes, who, Mike, another sort of weird connection to us here that I didn't realize at the time until I started diving into this. Warren Zanes was a member of the group the Del Fuegos, a very, very popular Boston-based band
Yeah,
back when, regional bands were a thing, and
correct.
the club scene. Listen, neither one of us really were around, or even when we were partake in the club scene in Boston, but it was almost second to none. The
Yeah,
Rathskeller in Boston, a lot of other clubs where a lot of, bands kind of cut their teeth.
right, and I played a lot of those clubs
True.
with my band, but I was kind of oblivious to really it was just, "Let me find the club, let me set up my drums, let
Let
me
me
do
get
my thing."
paid. Yeah,
Yeah,
let
let
me
me
get
get
paid.
paid, which that was the best part.
Right. So Warren Zanes puts out this book, Springsteen, Deliver Me from Nowhere, a couple years ago. And he's on the Mark Maron podcast around that time talking about the book. And so another connection, there's a
Right, because Mark
podcast
Maron's in
connection.
the film.
Who plays a horrible Chuck Plotkin, by the way. Just I'm sorry, Mark. I like Mark Maron, but it
I
was
thought he was
really just
okay.
no resemblance to Chuck Plotkin. He
Right,
was terrible. He had hardly any use in the film. It's
right.
a central figure in Bruce's recording career. But anyways, that aside, um, so
And we should say this focuses on a very short period of time. It's the end, the film literally starts with the end of the River Tour, and
correct,
then it kinda shows the next 12 months, and
right.
that's it. So you don't see Born, well, you do hear a little of Born in the USA because that's what the studio was after, but
Mhm.
Bruce was after this kinda, he was going down a different path.
Well, okay, so really, what it is it's focused on his making of this record, Nebraska,
And I
is
gotta
is
hold these up, Dan.
what do you have? Oh, Badlands, yes. So, right, a lot of right, and then The Night of the Hunter, right,
Those
great.
were in the first 10 minutes of the film, and
Yeah,
he's watching them. Now, I bought Badlands years ago, and I
it's on
figured
it's on Criterion.
it is. These are both Criterion
Yeah.
releases, and I bought it because I thought, this gotta be Bruce inspiration." But to this day, I can't connect the dots between the film and the song.
I can. Oh, you
Yeah,
mean song Badlands?
yeah. I mean, I saw what they showed
Well,
in the film.
yeah, but Bruce would, it wasn't unusual for Bruce to just literally get inspired by a title of like
Yeah,
Thunder Road with Robert Mitchum. Like, he
and
would
you
just
sent me something recent, right? An award he won. I don't know what the Academy was or what the award was, but his acceptance speech,
oh,
I'm
right.
like, I didn't know Bruce was a cinephile.
Yeah, the museum. Oh, very much so.
He
Very
rattled off like
see,
10 film noirs that I'm like,
yes.
I have all of them.
See, it's interesting you wouldn't, although again, we should say too, like, you kinda got off the train at a
I
certain
did.
point. Like, probably when Human Touch Lucky Town came out and he separated from the E Street Band, I think that's where you departed.
Yeah, and there's something personal about it for me. I
Mhm.
think there was a jealousy, like he blew
Yeah.
up.
Right.
And when I first saw him, it was like, even though he was huge, I mean, 75, he's on the cover of Newsweek and Time the same year. And
Mhm.
I'm sitting there in a sold out Boston Garden watching this guy I've never seen before.
Yeah.
And people are going wild, but it felt like a secret. And then when Born in the USA came out and he explodes, and I
Mhm.
went to, like, before you and I went to that show, I went to at least a dozen of those concerts. And
Yeah.
remember when we were during Halloween Fest, we were talking about flights, poor flights. One
Mhm.
of them was our older brother and I were flying to Syracuse to see Bruce, and that's when we had to put our head between our knees.
Oh, you took a flight to s
Took a flight to see him. Yep.
I didn't know this, and you know what's crazy? I'm not sure if you remember this. I have your ticket stubs from that show.
Wow. See, I saved nothing,
I have everything.
and
I
I
have
can't
everything.
tell you how many shows I went to. I never kept track. I just
Yeah.
but I've seen a lot.
It was interesting because you would come home at night, we were all living at home at the time. You would come home and you guys saw a pretty good stretch of shows during the Born in the USA
A
tour.
lot.
And you'd come home and be coming in at 2, 3 in the morning and be telling mom these stories of what just occurred, including the close encounter where you almost met him but didn't, and you rode in the elevator with Clarence, and
Correct.
such a great story. But yeah, so I just it was like this kind of this mythic person that I hear these stories. Oh my God, I got to be part of this, and I'm just a young kid, so
And we
um,
got lucky because there was a guy that put an ad in the paper locally,
yeah,
and he used to get tickets. I don't know how,
mm,
but he would offer these, bus ride, ticket to the show, everything included for a
yep,
cheap price.
right,
So we went to, I'd say 10. We went to Hartford, Connecticut. We went to Buffalo. We went to Syracuse
hmm,
for literally paying face
yeah,
value on the
yeah.
ticket.
I have the Buffalo tickets too, by the way. And a
Yeah,
couple
back
of
to
those
back nights.
yeah, a couple of them have, like, his wife, Patty Scalfa's signature on it and some of the autographs you got at the time. So, but to get back to,
Deliver
y
me from nowhere.
right, but to sort of where it's centered, which is this is like you said, Bruce is coming off the River Tour in 1981, very successful. He's got his first top 10 hit, and he's on the precipice of superstardom. Like, he's
Right.
ready to sort of make that leap.
And Sony knows it.
And Sony knows it, and they're chomping at the bit, salivating, waiting for that next thing, and he does, as Warren Zanes talks about, which is the central kind of theme throughout his book. What does Bruce do? He does exactly what you shouldn't do, is he puts out this stripped down, essentially a demo tape of these 10 songs that he wrote in the span of a couple of weeks at a rented house in Colts Neck, New Jersey.
Right.
And it says there's going to be no press, no tour, no videos, no nothing. This is it. This is what it is. So it's a very ballsy move if you think about it at the time, right? Considering where he was at and where he was about to end up. Now, he would of course reach that with Born in the USA 2 years later.
Right.
So that in and of itself is a very interesting premise. Now, what I like that Scott Cooper did here with the film is he took that premise from the book, but he also took a lot of liberties by using Bruce's autobiography, which I've read. I don't think you've read, but
No, I haven't.
it's quite thick. But one of the few books that you can get me to read, by the way.
Right.
And this is Bruce at a time where he's facing this kind of almost like existential crisis in
Yeah.
his life, right? I want to read a very brief excerpt from the autobiography, which is in the chapter specifically about Nebraska.
Hmm.
Okay. It says, all I do know is as we age, the weight of our unsorted baggage becomes heavier, much heavier. With each passing year, the price of our refusal to do that sorting rises higher and higher. Maybe I'd cut myself loose one too many times, depended on my unfailing magic act once too often, drifted that little bit too far from the smoke and mirrors holding me together, or I just got old enough to know better. Whatever the reason, I'd found myself once again stranded in the middle of quote unquote nowhere. But this time, the euphoria and delusions that kept me oiled and running had ground to a halt. That to me, Mike, encapsulates and sums up this entire film and entire
I
struggle that
agree.
he's going through at that point.
I agree, and he's talking about personal relationships. He's talking about the bigger picture. One of the shocking things
Mhm.
is we find out that he's got like 20 grand in the bank after the river tour. Who would have thought that? Um, th- there's a girl, I don't know her name. She plays a character, Faye.
Odessa Young.
Yeah, okay. Odessa Young plays kind of an amalgamation of girlfriends of his.
Yeah.
She's not based on a single person. She's based on several
You know
relationships.
what's interesting? She's as I learn more about it, and by the way, I thought Odessa Young was fantastic in the
She
film.
was
One
great.
one of the highlights, and I think she's not getting enough credit, quite frankly, for her performance in this film, given what her character is representing, as you're describing. I've read that as you said, it's an amalgam of a lot of different relationship he's had. One of them was with the actress Joyce Heiser. A shout out to Joyce Heiser, who I love, by the way. She This is a picture of Bruce and Joyce back in the 80s, and they were together for several years around that time. And so it's supposedly one of those relationships, is the relationship Bruce had with Joyce. So I just wanted to point that out.
And ultimately what it comes down to is he can't fully give of himself to another person. And ironically, during Born in the USA or shortly thereafter, he gets married to a supermodel.
Julianne Phillips.
And it doesn't work out. And this is like pre-Born in the USA. There was no, and even after, there wasn't internet. There wasn't, all these TMZ
True.
shows and stuff.
True. Yeah.
But eventually, what's the magazine? Um,
The National
the
Enquirer.
National Enquirer
I
has
have it.
pictures. Yeah,
I have it. He was famously seen on a balcony in France with his now wife, Patty Scalfa.
right.
And it was now, to be clear, the marriage was already on the outs. They were,
Yes,
I think essentially separated. So it wasn't as nefarious as that would, but there's Bruce in his tidy whities on a balcony. And, it was for a guy who had stayed out of and really still has stayed out of the
right,
tabloids.
right. His
Um,
personal stuff didn't come out.
yeah,
And
but
this was the first
that was an
time
exception.
it was
Yeah,
huge.
it
It
was a
was
huge,
huge.
yeah,
People were
yeah,
like, "Oh,
right.
womanizer, blah, blah, blah."
Yeah, yeah.
But obviously, and the funny thing is I remember Patty before she was in the band. I mean,
Mhm.
and, I remember the band pre-Nils Lofgren. So I
Yeah.
saw different,
Mhm.
forms of the band, but Patty's, I think, the first person I met out of the band in Hartford, Connecticut. She
Hi.
comes bouncing out this side door. It was, like, so cold. It was, like, 0 degrees,
Yeah,
and she comes bouncing out. She's got a bottle in a
of
brown bag,
something.
and
Yeah.
she's more than happy to talk to me, and there was several girls that were with me,
Yes.
and they're all asking her about Bruce. What's he like? And she goes, "Yeah, he's great. He's very nice, and he's pretty good looking."
Yeah.
This is before their relationship even started. I just found that really funny.
Well, and for those that don't know, they knew each other. I mean, back I think when they were in their teens, because she grew up in Deal, New Jersey, like pretty close to where they were there.
And she
But anyway,
probably performed at the Stone Pony, which is a famous, yeah, Dan's got the shot glass of it because you've been
yeah,
there.
I've been to the Stone Pony. I saw Patti Smith at the
Oh,
Stone
wow.
Pony, which was a
Perfect.
pretty amazing
And I'm
experience there.
sure Patty Skalfa played the Stone Pony at some point.
Yeah, and listen, Patty's a fantastic artist herself. If anybody is interested, go check out her album Rumble Doll. It is really, really a great album. I think she's working on another album too, by the way.
Good for her.
But I love what you said, Mike. And Bruce has said this. He's quoted as saying this that he knew he wasn't able to be present, and I love that they get into the him, this sort of catalyst that lands him in psychotherapy, basically. And I will say, it wasn't until I saw Bruce in an interview with the great Ted Koppel, who used to do a show called
Nightline.
Nightline,
Yeah.
where Bruce was interviewed during the Rising tour, I think in 2002, if I'm not mistaken. And he openly talks about, for the first time I ever remember being in psychotherapy, and that inspired me in part to seek out that kind
Yeah,
of support
because
myself.
part of what he was going through was a depression,
Yeah.
that here you would think you're on top of the world, and
Mhm.
you come off of these, 20,000 screaming fans, and all of a sudden the noise stops.
Which is how the film begins, right?
Yeah.
We see this clip of him performing Born to Run on the River Tour, and he comes off stage and he's in his dressing room, and it's just a total 180,
Right.
right? The silence, and he's in his head and
Alone.
alone, right? And I have to say, Mike, there's one thing about this film. So Jeremy Allen White, who of course plays Bruce in the film, he did a huge deep dive. This guy did his homework. A lot of people would know him from The Bear and Shameless, another series that he
This is
was
the
in.
first time I've ever seen him.
Is it
I've
really?
never seen him in anything but this,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I'll be stunned if well, so far it's the best performance I've seen of the year.
Wow.
But if he does not get
Wow.
nominated,
Wow.
that will stun me.
Amazing. I didn't know you were going to be coming with all of this goodness, but he, I have to say, and this is not I'm not trying to like defame the guy or anything, right? But very few people on the planet know Bruce Springsteen's singing voice better than I do. I don't mind throwing down the gauntlet and saying that. I should say, Mike, I look at this is for the fans out there. This is a beautiful picture disc of Nebraska I have. I've never opened it.
Right.
You can see the tag here, 1999, folks. And
Not anymore.
I don't even think you know this, but again, this comes from, I remember, our father owned a mobile gas station, and was a mechanic back when that was a thing.
Mhm.
And I can remember he had this really old radio way high up on a shelf in one of the bays.
Yep.
And I can remember hearing Atlantic City playing on that
Correct.
radio.
Correct.
And another vivid memory I have is being on Cape Cod. And one of the only things I had with me, Mike, was the Jim Morrison biography and the Nebraska cassette.
Mm.
And I would listen to that album over and over. And I don't know why, as a 10-year-old, it resonated with me.
And therein, I think, lies the problem with the film, which I don't have a problem with. I love Nebraska. I loved it when it came out. I was like you. I wore it out. But I think for people who are born in the USA fans, or, think about that song has
Yeah.
to be the most what's the word I'm looking for? Unknown. People
Misinterpreted.
Misinterpreted.
Yep.
It has to be the most interpreted song in history. Ronald Reagan references it.
Yeah.
New Jersey's own, talking about, like it's some kind of anthem of good for the USA. It's not. Listen to the words.
Well, and that should be even more clear through this film and the book and Nebraska album, because again, Born in the USA is a handful of songs that are songs he wrote at the same time that never ended up on the album because they just had a different kind of tone to them and so forth and so on. But it kind of brings me back to you holding up the criterion of Badlands because they show it. I love that
Show it, yeah.
they show it in the film because Bruce, I was surprised to hear you say you didn't realize he was such a cinephile. I
I
knew that
didn't.
just because, again, I went way deeper than you at a
Oh, yeah.
certain point and became very, very hardcore. And he would take just titles and use that as inspiration. But if you think about it, very few artists have music and songs that are themselves so cinematic.
Mhm.
He can paint such a picture with words and tonality with music. And Nebraska is the prime example of that. I mean, there's these characters that he's talking about and going in Badlands, right? Which of course is about Charles Starkweather, who was a serial killer that committed all these murders throughout his travels in Nebraska. So that's, as you say, that's one thing that's being written about. But then, of course, as Bruce often does, he's making connections to his own life,
Right.
our lives, America, like he's kind
Like,
of
one of
the
the things while he's watching Badlands, he changes the pronouns from plural to singular,
Mhm.
they to I, because he starts to personalize what he's watching.
And I don't think I realized until I saw the film how much of Nebraska I knew because of songs like My Father's House, Mansion on the Hill, Used Cars, how much of it was about his own personal experience. And in this, Mike, one of the things I loved the most about the film, I think the thing I liked the most was the flashbacks to young Bruce
Yeah,
and Stephen Graham, who plays his father,
famous,
just
character actor.
yeah, Douglas Springsteen. Just people would know Stephen Graham from like Boardwalk Empire, Venom.
He was
He's
in The
been in a
Freshman.
he was in Peaky Blinders, ton of things.
Yeah,
Incredible English actor. Did an amazing job as Douglas Springsteen. But I really loved it because those were very dramatic, very intense sequences. And
and
I've
we
heard
knew that's the
yeah,
one personal nugget we knew about Bruce was he had a
true.
contentious relationship with his dad.
Now, what we didn't know until this is how deeply his dad was struggling with mental health,
Right.
mental illness. I
And
had no idea.
sometimes the issues were because he wasn't on his meds.
Right. And that relationship was abusive and all of that is portrayed in the film. So the only thing, Mike, I think I struggled with honestly was that I felt as though they tried to cram too many iconic big moments into, a couple of hours. It's hard to do.
Yeah, and I
Like
think that's
like him cutting Born in the USA in the studio, right? That needed, to me, a little bit more space to breathe
yeah, oh,
in the
absolutely.
film, and I felt like some of that was a bit rushed. Not that I wanted a longer film, but I felt like it was a
No.
bit rushed.
And I think therein lies the problem is people that don't know Nebraska or,
Mhm,
are not hyper Springsteen fans.
mhm.
I don't know what's in it for them. This personal story is kind of esoteric.
Well, but I think anybody that's struggling with mental health issues, anybody who might have, um, relationship challenges, whether that be with a partner or a parent,
But I
I
don't
think
think
you
this
might
is the movie they're gonna go. This isn't what they expected. Like the couple
no,
that walked out,
right.
other than my
Maybe.
only thought was they're thinking, "Oh, we're gonna hear all his music, we're gonna," you know, and they were
Well,
like, "Oh,
and that was me. I honestly, admittedly, maybe wanted a little bit more of that, but that's one of the things I think that's a service we can provide here in this conversation is if that's what you're looking for, if you're
Right.
looking for a theatrical portrayal of Bruce in concert, this is not
This
the
isn't
film.
it.
This is
Right.
not it.
Right.
But if you're looking for a story that is very introspective, about somebody who's struggling with mental illness and a lot of other issues, this is I would recommend the film for sure,
Yeah.
and it's a film I think, Mike, that I'm going to appreciate more and more as because I will see it again. Of course, I would. This is something I will obviously own
Right.
in my collection, but
And
I
I
hope
hope
we'll
I
get a
hope it
Criterion.
comes with some substance,
You mean the physical release?
the physical release.
Yeah, Mike's selfishly panning for that. But now let's talk about Mike. I want to get your take on this based on what you've said. So this is an estimated budget of 55 million bucks, but clearly this is a great example, Mike, right? Where you always point out that probably what 75 million all in because I've not seen a more hyped up promotional campaign for a film as I've seen with Springsteen Deliver Me From Nowhere. I mean, he's been everywhere. Jeremy Allen White's been everywhere. And it didn't feel to me like they were cramming it down my throat, but it was everywhere. It was on every show, late night,
Yeah.
morning, all over the place.
And I avoided a lot of it because I really didn't before I saw the film, I really didn't want to know much.
I did too. I did too.
But having seen Jeremy Allen White talk and be interviewed, I can if we gave them a Myers-Briggs test, I bet him and Bruce would line up perfectly because he
Yeah.
seems to embody
Mhm.
and you know, we talk about this with biopics. I always bring up Joaquin Phoenix and Walk the Line, how he captured John. He didn't look like Johnny Cash. He didn't sound like Johnny, but he captured him. Jeremy White did both.
Well, great point because as Scott Cooper talks about and Bruce himself, it wasn't exactly Bruce, but it was the essence of Bruce, and that's what they were really going for. They didn't want an imitation, or an impression of
But
Bruce,
look what
right?
they got. I
But
mean,
I mean,
wow.
if you're I don't know that you can do better, and I've gotta say, so I was starting to make this point earlier, and I have to get it out, and again, this is not to decredit or defame Jeremy Allen White and the effort and commitment that he put forward in this role, but, uh the if you hear him singing and there is the soundtrack, there's a soundtrack. It's credited Jeremy Allen White, right? He was
Right.
taught how to play guitar. He didn't know how to sing or any of these
Harmonica.
things.
Yep.
Harmonica. Now, what I was waiting for the podcast episode to put this out in the ether is I think he did a fabulous job. I think there's something going on with some of the music to where they've done a little bit of movie magic, music magic, where it is Jeremy Allen White, and sometimes it's just him.
Mhm.
I believe, as someone who knows the Nebraska album inside and out, I think sometimes it's some sort of weird hybrid of
Yeah.
the original recording. I mean, there are some nuances and things that Bruce does vocally on some of these tracks, like you just can't, there's no way you could possibly mimic them.
Well, towards the end, I forget what song it was. There was a song playing and it said Bruce's name came up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was a tip off that, okay, this is Bruce. This isn't
Right.
Jeremy. You know, I kind of agree with you. I think there's something in the mix.
Something in the mix. And again, I'm not
It's just too close.
I'm not saying it's a negative thing, but
Right.
you know what I think it is? I think some of it's jealousy. I think some of it is a fan from 8 years old going, I think I want to sound that good and that's close to Bruce. I've
Right.
imitated this guy my whole life, but so credit to Jeremy Allen White for what he did. Now, I will be honest. The very opening of the film, this is not it's in the first 2 minutes of the film, is Bruce performing Born to Run live on the
Right.
River Tour.
Right.
And I got to say, too, a huge shout out and credit to all of the cast who played the E Street Band.
Right.
it was a pretty good casting they did. But I did have a problem, and this is very nitpicky, with the way that Jeremy Allen White, I guess, learned how to strum the guitar. It's a very it just wasn't on point for me, but that's so nitpicky, I'm
Right,
admitting it,
right.
but man, I mean, look at this, Mike. So here's a picture of Bruce in the bedroom of the house he was renting when he made Nebraska,
Yeah.
okay? This is Jeremy Allen White in that same bedroom portraying Bruce, and by the way, I'm on the hunt for that flannel shirt, by the way. That's why I was trying to represent here. I'm trying to track it down. But so the
And what?
likeness, of
He's what,
course, is
like
there.
27?
No,
Jeremy Allen
I think
White?
he's early 30s, I think.
I think he's still in his 20s.
Oh, is he really?
I
Okay,
think
well,
so.
I may be wrong. Now, here's a picture of the cat. So here, left to right, Mike. Okay, I'll break it down for you. You got John Landau, who is Bruce's longtime manager and confidant, who is played by, next to him, Jeremy Strong, who people would know from Succession.
Right.
And then you've got Scott Cooper, the director, Jeremy Allen White in the center, of course, Bruce himself, and then Stephen Graham, who portrays his father. This is a great shot of them at the red carpet for the film. But
Yeah.
and I thought Jeremy Strong did a pretty good job as John Landau, and portraying how probably, Mike, most other managers of an artist of Bruce's caliber, even at that time, would not have been as supportive
No.
as he was, and
I
he
don't think
got
he
it.
would have gone the extra. I mean, that's why they're still together,
Yes.
because John Landau was like, "Okay, this is what you wanna do.
It's what
We're
we're
gonna
gonna
do
do.
it."
We'll get it no matter what it takes. We'll do
And
it.
if you look after Born in the USA, when
Mm.
Tunnel of Love comes out, there's kind of a comparison there. That was very deeply personal, not the although there's a couple of hits on it, it's not the kind of album, Born in the USA was. One
Fantastic
th
album, though, yeah.
one thing, you talked about the 55,000,000. I don't see that. I don't see 55,000,000 on the screen.
I don't know, maybe it was in that Camaro they had to find to pick up that
Yeah,
Bruce
which
owned.
wasn't he never had a Z28. It was a different car totally.
No, he did, he
Oh,
did.
did he?
Oh, yeah, I've
Okay.
got pictures of him in the car.
Oh, okay.
Maybe
I
what
thought that was made up.
you might be thinking about the car that he's in with his friend Matt Delia when they go on this cross-country trip out
Yeah.
west, which is
Yes.
where this is the one thing I didn't know, or I guess I did not remember from reading the autobiography, was this basically breakdown that he has
Yeah.
at a county fair, and he's even written a song called County Fair, um, which really is kind of the very, again, it's another theme in the film where he's wrestling with this, and his friend Matt Delia is portrayed in the film. I wrote
Well,
it down by Harrison Sloan Gilbertson, just to give him credit.
I had it when I saw that sequence, I had a very similar situation where I moved out. I was the first kid to move out. I was the
Thank
first
God.
kid to yeah.
Good
And when I
riddance.
moved to Florida with a buddy of mine, this is 1986. I get to his mother was living in Virginia. So we stopped in Virginia, which was about the halfway point we were going to sleep
Oh,
and then make our way on to Florida. I have like a nervous breakdown in the bedroom and I get up. I'm not going to sleep. I know it. I wake him up. I'm like, we've got to go. And I called dad and I'm in a panic. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Why did I leave home? Why am I going to? I had no idea.
yeah.
And dad, of course, calms me down, walks me off the ledge. We get in the car, we leave. We get to Florida and we have a blast. So I just liken that to his trip to California. It felt so personal to me,
Yeah.
kind of like
Well,
you with the Nightline interview.
I think that is something about Bruce Springsteen is that he's able to tap into a consciousness and themes that are very universal.
Yeah, and I had a couple of girls I took to their first Bruce Springsteen concert that swore.
Mike with a humble brag.
Yeah, no, I don't, they're nowhere to be found now, but they swore he was looking at them. We had
Mhm.
good seats. He was like, he's singing to me. He's singing that. I said, yeah,
Yeah.
that's how it is.
I
That's
don't
why
know.
you love him.
As is portrayed in this film, maybe he was looking at them. It's possible, which was interesting because as you talked about earlier, the relationship and here's a shot of Jeremy Allen White with Odessa Young plays the character Faye. Again, I don't think she's getting enough credit or being talked about enough. I've
Has
not
she
seen
done
her.
other things
I
that I
have
would
not seen
know?
her in other interviews.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what her credits are offhand, um, but, it was I mean, what was very interesting to me was to see Bruce in, some, like, romantic situations.
Right.
That
Because we
was
didn't even
very
think
interesting.
that.
Right.
He was just a rock and roll guy,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. But I'm not as familiar with what she's been in. I mean, she's got a lot of credits to her name, but I'm not as familiar. But she just did a fantastic job. But, yeah, I think that's it. I think it's, again, another reason why maybe non-fans, let's say,
Mhm.
should go see the film, right? It taps into a lot of themes that all of us wrestle with and struggle
Right.
with, and we all have complicated relationships with our parents. And it's funny you talk about dad. I'm not sure if you remember when I moved to Florida in 1990. In 2 weeks in, I was having a panic attack. I called dad, and he's like, "Look, a kid, you made a decision. You got to stick with it. Like, tough it out." Like,
Yeah.
he didn't give me. I don't think I got the same speech that you got in
No.
1986. So,
No, he was, very
God love him.
comforting, and, of
And I
course, you were probably getting it from me too. I was
yeah,
probably like, "Calm down."
and listen, one of the highlights of my life is being able to have taken mom and dad to see Bruce on one of his solo acoustic tours. That was such a blast. I brought them into Boston to see him, and it was tickets for mom's birthday, and that was a high point. But yeah, it's look, Mike, it's got an IMDb Metascore rating of 59, the
Yeah.
same score on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics, and an 83% rating from the audience, which that's about where I think I am, is
Yeah,
about
me too.
83%.
I think if you look at that 59, if you look at it though, there's not a lot of, reviews, and there's a couple pulling it down. There's a
Mhm.
couple of 50s that are
I
there's a
think
couple of
you're I
94s.
think you're right. If you start digging into some of those quote unquote reviews, they're actually quite positive.
Correct.
But so I think I have a point there
I
to
think that
make.
score is misleading.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Here's a quick shot of again trying to get close with the flannel, but here's Bruce, who funnily enough talked about in every interview I think I saw with him on the film and Jeremy, he kept apologizing to Jeremy Allen White because he was on the set like every day.
Yeah.
And he's like, God, it's bad enough the kid's got to try to portray me, but here's this idiot in the corner kind of, they're looming over
Right,
him.
right.
But I
I
think,
can't imagine doing that.
but I think Jeremy Allen White found it to be a bit of a um, affirmation, and I think it actually gave him a feeling of almost like having this permission and what
And I
have
think
you.
that lends credibility to the whole story and to the whole movie is the fact
Sure,
that he was there. It's his story. And, I'm sure in the moment he was making, no, I wouldn't have done that. I probably would have done this, things like
correct,
that.
correct. That's not exactly right, and yeah, exactly. I do want to say, we kind of started off, kind of you said this fan bias or what have you, and holding up again the Born in the USA album, Mike. So, friend of mine, best friend since kindergarten, Randy will appreciate this story if he's listening. You better be listening. Better be subscribed to the Overlook podcast, by the way. So there's a long story that hardcore fans would know about this hat
That
that's in
hat.
the
Yeah.
back pocket on the cover of the Born in the USA album, which was given to him, I believe, by a guy that he knew in New Jersey. And my friend Randy his mom had an acquaintance who, by some really, really bizarre miracle, came into possession of that same hat. Not the hat, but the
Right.
same hat.
Right.
And this is a picture of me back in, this had to be, Mike, about 1986 in the Logan Airport in Boston. You've probably never seen this picture, Mike.
I doubt it. Were you
In
coming to
Logan Airport.
visit me?
No, I was going to send off our Uncle George, rest in peace,
Oh,
who was heading back to California. He lived in California at the
yeah.
time. One of my heroes. I love that man. And so this is me sitting in the airport, and on the table is that hat that is featured in Bruce's back pocket.
I notice you're kind of focusing on the hat, not you.
Not this chubby version of me back in the day. Look at that. Look at that pig nose I
Yeah,
have. Oh
with
my
the
God.
Shemp
But
haircut.
but here's the kicker, Mike. That hat would end up going missing at some point. Now, it was Randy's hat, and we used to make these trades. I'll give you this for that, these quid pro
Right.
quo things. And I was able to scam him out of this hat, and it was in my collect. It was the prized piece of my collection.
Probably like
And
for
it ended up, I don't know, it's on the side of the road somewhere in some neighborhood.
oh, I thought you still had it.
I had it recreated by a hat
Ah,
company. It's not the same thing,
right.
but just an example there of a bit of the hardcore fandom over the years. So,
Well, and I'll give one of mine is when
yes,
I was in
please.
Connecticut,
Okay.
I separated from a group. I was alone, right?
Yeah.
And there was this van that took Bruce to every, stadium wherever he was playing. And it's in a book, a Springsteen book. You see
It
the
is.
van, you see the license plate.
It is indeed.
So, Mike, it's freezing cold. I get a dime out and I unscrew and I steal Bruce's license plate. I'm
Yes.
only admitting to that because the statute of limitations has run out. So I can't be charged. But
Yes.
yeah,
And
that was my
it's a Garden State license plate,
yeah.
and it's 955 SAB, I believe was the license plate. And this is something that annoys me to this day, but it is not in my possession.
I know. And I didn't keep it.
It is in our older brother's possession.
Yeah.
And if he's listening or watching, I want it back. I should be the rightful owner of that. But anyways, so yeah, look, a lot of stories. We could do a whole episode just on stories. Like, I'm surrounded by memorabilia, autographs, that first night that we met him together. But anyways, the film Springsteen Delivered Me from Nowhere from Scott Cooper. I would recommend folks see it, whether you're a fan or not. I think we've hopefully shared enough reasons why you should
Yeah.
see it.
And given what Scott Cooper did for Jeff Bridges, I hope Jeremy Allen White has the same success.
Yeah, I think in reflecting on it, I respect what he did even more. I think the image here you see on the artwork for the episode that we're doing here is testament enough to sort of the resemblance and the embodiment of Bruce Springsteen in this film. But I've heard that there's a possibility they might do some sort of quote unquote sequel to this. Now, I would love, Mike, I would love to see the telling of the story of his Born in the USA experience and going through what was the superstardom rocket to success.
At that time, it started in stadiums, like normal indoor stadiums. And then when it
Mhm.
went outdoor, and
Yeah.
then you see it overseas,
Right,
and you see these crowds going on for 2 miles.
right.
Yeah, that's probably the story some people thought they were gonna see,
Maybe.
and they were like, "This is really a downer. This is
Right.
kind of a bummer."
But for
And
me,
I
Nebraska's
told you when it came out, I thought it would have legs because people my age don't go out opening weekend. I do, but they wait a
yeah.
couple weeks before they go to the movies.
Now it is going to be coming to Apple TV at some point.
Okay.
It just says coming soon, so I don't know what the release date is there, but Anything else to
I
say about this
I
one,
just
Mike?
hope it gets a good 4K, maybe an extended cut with some
Yeah,
extras. I mean, I'd
yeah,
love a commentary with the 2
right.
of them. Just imagine that.
I did wanna mention, I wanted to mention Matthew Anthony Pellicano Jr., who plays a young Bruce who does a great job in the film, and, again, those were some of my favorite sequences when they went back and, um, the I will say the ending of the film is very well done, very emotional,
And I
um
I honestly, that I thought his dad had died at a younger age. I
mm,
didn't know he was around at the end, and
yeah.
the makeup job for I wondered if it was the same actor
Right,
because
it
he
was
looks so different.
you're right, Stephen Graham, yeah, it was great acting, but I would also encourage people to check out the autobiography. It's an incredible there's a audiobook version too
Right,
of
right.
Bruce reading it, but that's very striking as well. So and I will lastly say, whether you are a fan or not, if you've not seen the man live, you have to see him live. There's
You get
nothing
the
like it.
opportunity.
Yep, there's nothing like it. He's still out there doing it at 75. And he's still putting on 3-hour shows with no intermission, no opening act. Nobody does that.
There
Nobody.
was a long time your first show was his longest show. For the longest time, we
Mhm.
had witnessed
Yeah.
the longest Springsteen concert.
Right.
But, he connects to an audience like nobody else
Mhm.
I've ever seen.
And I will let me just say this to get it on the record. A couple quick things, Mike, to wrap up is he is exactly what you see. He's exactly who you see in interviews. He is that humble. He is that grounded. He's very funny.
And I
And
find Jeremy Allen White the same way.
I do too. I do too. I agree with that. Uh, but yeah, his live performances are second to none. So I would strongly encourage people to
One of the
check him
big
out.
hiccups and I know it's because of, a condition I have, but missing the Broadway show was,
Mm,
big for me.
that was
I
fantastic.
wanted to
Yeah,
see that. You saw it
yeah.
at least, what, twice?
No, no, I just saw it once.
Oh, I thought you went a second
Yeah,
time.
I went with Randy to New York and we saw that on Broadway, and that was really a musical live telling of the autobiography essentially, and it was
Right.
like nothing I've ever seen before. It was fantastic. I actually met him before the show, at that time as well. So, yeah, I think again, Jeremy Allen White did a great job. Scott Cooper did a nice job here, but again, people should know this is it's an, if you're looking to go and see kind of a portrayal of Bruce live in concert, just go see Bruce live in concert. He's
Right.
still out there doing it. So this
Right.
is something different. This is something
This
different.
is different. This is a dark story.
Mhm.
And, just know that and again, that would go into if somebody said, "Hey, would you recommend seeing this?" I
Yeah,
would kinda ask them, "Do you know Bruce? Do you know the album? Do you"
right.
and that's how I would kinda go.
I think that's fair. Yeah. Well, there you go, Mike. We did a first look on this. This is certainly a much deeper dive into the film, and hopefully, it's been beneficial for folks that haven't seen it yet. And for those that have seen it, let us know what you think about the film. Don't forget you can scan this QR code here if you're watching on YouTube, and it'll take you right to the channel to hit the subscribe button. We would appreciate that if you'd subscribe and like the videos. Uh, Also, we're on every podcast player you could possibly think of. So, how if that's how you consume your podcast, you can check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our wherever, Amazon Music, you name it, we're out there. So, and again, Mike, we continue to um, see growth on the channel, and just love. First of all, very grateful. If we haven't shouted you out by name, we see you subscribing. We appreciate the support, and certainly the engagement. As we often say, anybody that reaches out and interacts with us, we love that. We love that. So this is one in particular, given our background and kind of the fandom over the years. I would really be curious to hear from those that aren't fans, frankly,
Yeah.
and have seen the film and what they think of it. So drop some comments on the video and let us know. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And Mike, are we going to be back again to do this? Are we coming back next week or what?
I think there's a pretty good possibility.
You know, it's a guarantee. It's
It's
the guarantee
100%.
we make at the Yo Brother Podcast. All right, that's going to do it, Mike, for another episode of the Yo Brother Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, of course, is my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith. And we will see you next time.
Bye, everyone.